He smiled, but his eyes were empty. Outside the cafe, it was winter in full force. The wind was bitterly cold, so much so that even standing outside for a few seconds to take a phone call felt like an eternity. Inside, however, everything was different. There was hot chocolate with marshmallows, freshly baked cookies, and the sound of soft jazz music. It was the perfect place to have a first date. And for Annika, it was also the perfect place to meet her date's parents. She had been seeing this guy Lucas for just under a month, so they'd met through a mutual friend at a party. She'd been drawn to his quiet confidence and he, her easy smile. Their first 2 dates had gone well. Both were with groups of friends, and there had been lots of laughter, flirting, and a lingering hug goodbye that had left Annika breathless. Then their 3rd date had been a one-on-one dinner, and that had ended with a sweet kiss goodnight. Everything was going perfectly until date no. 4. This time Lucas had asked Annika to meet him at his parents' house for dinner. They lived just outside the city, he'd said on the phone, so it should be a nice change of scenery. But when she got off the train and saw the house, Annika wanted to run back as fast as she could. It was massive, looming over her like a palace, all dark wood and high stone walls. The only light came from within, making the windows look like watchful eyes. When Lucas opened the door and ushered her inside, Annika tried to calm her nerves by focusing on his smiling face. He looked happy, excited even, and that made her feel a little better. But then his mother appeared in the doorway, and all Annika could do was stare. She was tall, with sharp features, and dressed in a tailored pantsuit. Next to her stood a man whose stern face and military haircut made him look like a drill sergeant. "Mom, Dad, this is Annika," Lucas said brightly. "Annika, this is my mom and dad." Annika extended her hand to Lucas's mother. "Nice to meet you," she said, trying to ignore the way the woman's eyes seemed to bore into her. Lucas's father grunted in acknowledgement but didn't shake her hand. Instead, he turned and walked away. Come in," Lucas's mother said, ushering her into the house. "I'll get dinner started." As Annika followed her into the kitchen, she could hear Lucas talking to someone on the phone. "Yeah, I know, we're having company. Yeah, I told you not to come. Listen, I don't care what you say. You're not welcome here." He hung up and turned to Annika, who couldn't help but notice how his sunny disposition had vanished. In its place was a look of quiet desperation. The meal was almost as uncomfortable as the silence that had preceded it. Lucas's mother kept asking Annika questions about herself, about her family, about her job, and Annika answered honestly, openly, which made the woman's probing seem even more intense. Lucas's father remained silent throughout the meal, occasionally stabbing at his food with his fork. When they were done eating, Lucas's mother excused herself to clear the table, at which point the father turned to Annika. "You're not from around here, are you?" he asked gruffly. "No, I grew up about an hour away," she replied, confused by his tone. "So you moved here to be with our son?" he stated more than asked. "Oh no, we actually met here," she said, gesturing between her and Lucas with her fork. "Really, how convenient," he muttered. "Look, I don't want to be rude, but why would you move in with my son after only 4 dates? You haven't even known each other for a month." I haven't moved in with him," she said, a little hurt by his bluntness. I was just visiting tonight because Lucas invited me." "Well, that explains it," he said, turning away to pour himself a glass of water. After a while, Lucas's mother joined them again. "I think it's time for dessert," she said brightly, completely ignoring the tension that had filled the room. As she got up to get the cake, Lucas came in from the other room. "Hey, sorry I took so long," he said to Annika, his face strained. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah, fine," he said with a tight smile. Just then, his mother returned with the cake. "Happy birthday," she said to Lucas. "Oh, right," Lucas said, looking embarrassed. "It's my birthday." Annika stared at him in surprise. She hadn't known. I didn't realize," she stammered. "It's fine," he said hastily. "It's not your fault. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it." He looked at his plate as his mother cut the candles. "What did you wish for?" she asked, placing a slice of cake in front of him. "Nothing," he said quietly. The rest of the evening passed without incident. Lucas's parents went to bed early, leaving Lucas and Annika alone in the cavernous house. She could tell he was uncomfortable, distracted. And as the night wore on, she began to feel suffocated by the silence and the secrets it held. Finally, she couldn't stand it anymore. "Look, I'm sorry if I made things weird tonight," she said. I don't know, I felt like I was walking on eggshells around your parents." "Me too," Lucas said, running a hand through his hair. "Listen, I'm really sorry."
My parents, they can be difficult sometimes.
"Sometimes," she echoed, wondering what exactly he meant. The next morning, Annika woke up in her own bed feeling confused and a little scared. She loved Lucas, or she thought she did. But now, she wasn't so sure. His parents had made her feel unwelcome, like she was some kind of interloper who didn't belong in his life. She picked up her phone and saw that she had a text from Lucas. It said, "I'm sorry about last night. My parents, they don't know how to show affection. They worry about me. I know you must have felt uncomfortable. I'm sorry." She read the message again and again, willing him to understand that it wasn't his parents' behavior that bothered her. It was the fact that she felt like he was hiding something, like there were cracks in their relationship that he was trying to conceal. A few days later, she confronted him about it. "You weren't honest with me last night," she said, her voice shaking. "I know you were hiding something." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "What do you mean?" he asked, trying to keep his voice level. "Why were your parents acting so weird? Why did you lie about it being your birthday? Why were you so secretive?" He looked down at his feet. "Because I'm ashamed of them, Annika." "Ashamed of what?" "Ashamed of how they treated you," she whispered. He finally looked up at her, his eyes filled with pain. "No, worse than that," he said quietly. "I'm ashamed of who they are." "What do you mean?" she asked, reaching out to touch his arm. He flinched away from her. "Don't touch me," he snapped.
God!
Startled by his sudden outburst, she pulled her hand back. "Lucas, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you." "It's fine," he said, his voice hollow. "Look, I need some time to think. Can we call this off for a while?" "But what about us?" she cried. "Us," he echoed, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. "There is no us. Never was. Never will be." He turned away from her, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Watching him break like this tore at her heartstrings. She wanted to reach out to him, to comfort him, but he'd pushed her away, so she did the only thing she could. She turned and walked out, leaving him to his grief. As she made her way down the street, she saw a cafe up ahead. Sight of the warm lights spilling out onto the sidewalk brought back a flood of memories. It had been here where she'd first met Lucas, where they'd shared their first kiss. Now it was all a painful reminder of what could have been. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. The familiar sounds and smells enveloped her in a warm embrace. And for the first time since meeting Lucas, Annika felt a sense of peace. He smiled, but his eyes were empty.